So congratulations on getting your new bumper. We got our rear bumper here. This is how you're gonna it's gonna come on your pallet. But we're gonna run through a really quick video of how to put it together, what you're gonna get, and how to mount it on the truck. We've gone ahead and pulled the bumper off of the back of the 4Runner here. The first thing you're gonna do when you pull this off, your bumper cover is not gonna be cut yet, and you're not gonna cut that until the actual bumper is installed. So for sake of this video, that's not really what we're showing. We do have the other video online that will show you that. But this one's already cut, it's already sitting here, so I'm not gonna worry about trying to redo all of that. Once the bumper cover comes off, there are two loops right here on the top of the frame that keep the spare tire from going up too high. You are going to trim those off. So you're gonna go ahead and cut those flush with the top of the frame, and clear out all the little brackets and everything underneath that are gonna be there. Basically strip that frame down to bare frame and get ready at that point to go ahead and start installing your bumper. Once you get your bumper, it's gonna come in here. You're gonna have the two main bumper parts. There's gonna be a box of random pieces, and your swing arm assembly, if you got one, two, either way, they're gonna come this way. And we do kind of pre-assemble these with all of the little brackets and pieces. So obviously you're getting this, you're gonna have to add powder coating or paint to this before you install it, but we did want to send these kind of pre-installed so you can see all the different options, where everything goes. So definitely take note of it, keep an idea of where everything is, keep all your hardware, make sure you don't lose all that, and we're going to go through basically the full assembly. So you do have your latch assembly here that's already installed, along with your locking pin. There's a secondary latch pin here that is installed. Your bumper stop is on the bottom here. That's what actually keeps the swing arm from moving in too far. Your hinge assembly here is bolted to the swing arm itself, and then there's another bumper stop on the back side here. In addition, there's this little tab here that's going to be on both swing arms, but that is your rear view camera mount. And in your packet, when you start pulling things out, you will get all of your additional parts. So you'll have your spindle for your hinge, but on that camera there will be somewhere in here two different tabs, and they're going to have a little square in them, and I'll bring these up close so you can see. So there's two different versions of these tabs. This is going to depend on what vehicle you have or what year of vehicle you have. So this one here, that's got basically, it's all one piece cut out, is going to be for the older model 4Runner. So this is going to be anything up before the 360 camera. And then the one that actually has 4 individual holes in it, this is for your later model. So this is going to be like 2020 up model. They did change the camera. In addition, the older style only has 4 wires. The new style has 6 wires. So you do have to kind of go through and figure out which wiring you have. When we're sending you our wire kit that you do have to splice in, that wire kit's going to have 6 wires in it either way that we send it to you. So if you only have a 4-wire camera, you're only using 4 of the 6 wires. If you have a 6-wire camera, you do need to go ahead and wire in all 6. When you do the 6-wire camera, it's important that you do have to go all the way up into the tailgate. You're going to remove your camera from the rear hatch, and you do have to splice in on those wires up inside the tailgate. So there's no way around that. So on the 4-wire cameras, there is a passenger side panel or driver side panel that you can get into, and you can kind of splice in from there if you can find that wire. But it is easier if you haven't done it before, just to go in and go from the tailgate, run that wire all the way through the hatch, down the pillar, and then back over to the actual swing arm. So just keep note, there are 2 tabs, and it does depend on which camera you're using. Both cameras, the older camera will kind of fit in the new one, but the bolt holes just don't line up for the little screws. So so there's 2 tabs there. Just make sure you don't lose those and figure out which one you need based on what your camera is. So that's the first thing. Inside this box, this is your wire. It's going to come in, just going to be a run of wire. Again, it is a 6-wire connectivity. So if you only have 4, use 4. If you have 6, use 6. In addition, in this, you're going to have a box of random parts. A lot of the things you're going to have in here is a stainless steel striker plate. This is for the swing arm. If you have one swing arm, you're only going to get one. It does have rivets that you're going to use for securing that once the bumper's powder coated or painted. It is stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about rust issues. The other thing you're going to have is the top cap for your hinge. You're going to have license plate lights going to come in here. You'll have to wire that in. And then you're going to have a various assortment of bearings and seals for your spindle, as well as the nut and washer for the top of your spindle. So we'll go through how to assemble that as well. And in addition to all of that, you're going to have all of your installation bolts are going to be in here as well. So there's a good number of parts all sitting in here, and we'll run through that kind of one at a time and see what we've got and how to assemble all of that. The other things in this box, you're going to end up with a little logo tag. This does mount to the swing arm. More than welcome to leave it raw. You can powder coat it, or you can leave it off if you want to. You know, a lot of people don't like logos, but this is on there, so it is a stainless steel logo. You can add that if you want. You'll also have, again, your spindle. So this is the spindle for your swing arm. It will, in your bumper, you'll notice that there are holes in the top of the bumper. This will drop down in, and that's how it mounts. And then there's a bolt that goes up from the bottom of the bumper into the bottom of the spindle. That's what holds it all in place. When you mount this spindle to the bumper after it's been powder coated, we do recommend putting a bead of silicone caulking right along the edge here. So just some black RTV or something. That just seals any water from getting down into that hole and eliminates rust and rot later on down the line. So we do recommend that when you do your final install, to go ahead and put a silicone bead there and lock that in place. So we're going to go through really quick the assembly of your spindle. So when you open up your boxes, you're going to get a bunch of different parts for the spindle. You're going to get 2 sets of bearings and races, as well as your spindle. The races, after you powder coat, we're going to want to keep all of that surface clean when you do your painting or powder coating. Those races are going to be pressed in. They should slide in pretty easy, but they're going to be pressed in from the top and the bottom, with the taper facing towards the outside. So the narrow part towards the outside, whether it's top or bottom. All of your bearings are tapered, and they're gonna match that same angle. So when they drop in there, the narrow part should go towards the inside. So that's how you gotta make sure that you're pressing those races in. So you're gonna do a race on the top, a race on the bottom. The bearings are gonna then go in. You're gonna wanna grease your bearings. Once your bearings are all in, you get a heavy coat of grease in there, and we recommend going ahead and throwing some extra grease inside just to make sure that you get it well lubricated. There is one seal here. That seal is going to drop in on the bottom side, and it will press in. So you're going to have to press this back in and get that seal in there, that sweep seal in there. Goes in there like that direction. So press that in, and then you want to get that flush with the bottom edge. Once that seal's in there, the spindle itself, again, it drops into the bumper. This is going to drop up and through, and it is a tight fit. These are extremely tight machine parts. So once there's some grease on there, it does work a little bit better, but they will go on. This is going to drop up and through, and then from the top side, you're going to have your large washer that's going to go on there, and then your lock nut as well that's going to bolt in and tighten down. You're going to put a preload on here. You're going to want to run this down to about 80 foot-pounds of torque on this, and that's going to set the preload on the bearings. What that's going to do is that's going to give you a good tight swing. It's going to not allow a lot of wobble in that, and it should give you a good tight seal on that. Once all of those are put together, you'll have your top cap, your machine top cap, with make sure there's a rubber washer on here, or rubber bearing O-ring on here. And then that is actually going to screw in from the top side. So it is threaded on the top side. You're just going to screw that in until it's tight. And that's the assembly of your bearing assembly. So if you need to service your bearings, we do recommend tearing them apart about once a year, once every 18 months, tearing them apart, making sure your bearings are good, going ahead and re-greasing your bearings, putting them back together. That's just going to be your general maintenance on this to make it last a long time. If for some reason your bearings do wear out, which they are a wearable part, you can pick these up pretty easy, or you can give us a call and we can send you a replacement set. They're pretty inexpensive, and you just go through the same process again of adding the bearings back in, greasing them up, and that should give you a long life on the bearing assembly and the hinge assembly on this bumper. in your box as well, you're gonna have these 3 wrapped up pieces here. What you're gonna find here, this is gonna be your tire mount. I'm not gonna unwrap this one now, but that will bolt to your swing arm at whatever desired height and location that you want to mount your spare tire. So that will be in the kit with this, as well as the hardware to mount it in the kit. When we open up these 2 here, what we're gonna find now, don't forget to get these parts powder coated or painted. We've had a few customers leave them in the packages not realizing that they had to be powder coated, and it's a bad surprise. This piece here with the bar across it looks like a handle. This is actually your latch assembly for your swing arm. If you did not order a swing arm with your bumper, you will not get the outside piece, but you will get the latch attachment. And then this piece here, which is exceptionally well wrapped. This is your high clearance hitch. So you're gonna have these 2 parts that are gonna go together. When we put the bumper onto the truck, these actually are gonna go in to help us to help actually connect the bumper. So this is all part of the connection assembly for the bumper itself. So we want to make sure that you've got all these parts sitting here. There should be, like I said, there's a secondary plate on the back of this one. It's already bolted to it. Make sure that plate's there. If you did not get a swing arm with your bumper, you will just get this attachment plate and it'll bolt directly to the bumper. But it should be attached to this bracket if you ordered a swing arm. So now we're going to go through the mounting of the bumper itself. Yeah. All right, so now we're gonna go through mounting the bumper to the truck itself. There's a couple little tricks to it. It was pretty straightforward. Again, remember the plastic's not gonna be on here. Once the bumper is mounted, what you're gonna do for cutting that plastic is take measurements from the truck down to the body of the bumper. You're gonna subtract about a 1/4 inch, and that's gonna be your cut line for your bumper. So what you'll do is you'll go around and you can shim the bumper if it needs to shift or move. The truck frames aren't all the same. Every truck's not identical. So we do allow enough room in there to be able to shim and adjust the bumper as you're going. And there are some shims in the kit with you. So there's some U-shaped shims that if you need to shim the bolts down or change where the bumper position is, you can do that during installation. So for this part of the install, we're gonna be doing the both rear bumper sections. We're gonna put those on the truck. I'm gonna show you how to do that really quick. This is actually kind of the most difficult job of this whole thing. What we're going to be using for tools, we've got a 3/4 inch ratchet, a 13 millimeter ratchet, or a 19 millimeter ratchet, a 13 millimeter ratchet. We've got a 9/16 inch box wrench. The 9/16 wrench is going to basically be for all of our accessory bolt-ons, so I'm actually not going to use that a whole lot right now. And then a 7/32 Allen key. So those are basically all the tools you need. But we're gonna go ahead and bolt this up here. We're gonna start one side at a time, get it kind of in place, add the second side, and then we're gonna bring it all together and basically level the bumper to itself and to the truck. And it's easier to have a second set of hands doing this one, so you're not crawling around trying to hold all this weight up by yourself. So Evan's gonna help me out here. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the driver's side here. And we're gonna use the 12 millimeter bolts that are supplied, as well as there's a couple 8 millimeter bolts supplied. And as we slide this up and over, there's a bolt on the bottom side here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with just our top bolt initially here. And we're just gonna get that in just to kind of hold things up in place, okay? So we're gonna put one 12 millimeter bolt there. And then underneath, on the bottom side of the frame rail, there's a long slot on the front side. And that's gonna hold two 12 millimeter bolts. And we're gonna start those into the bottom of the frame. This is where your factory tow hook would have been connected. So we're gonna go ahead and add those two in. And we're leaving everything just loose enough we can move the bumper around. And then just in front of those, towards the front of the truck, are going to be 2 slots for the 8mm bolts. If your truck has been on the road for a while, you may want to pre-tap these bolts or these holes in the frame. It makes the install a lot easier. My 4Runner here has had bumpers on and off of it repeatedly for the last 8 years. So these holes are pretty well worn in. All right, so that is now sitting up in place. It is not level, it's just kind of dangling here. We're gonna do the same thing to the other side really quick. Thinking about it.
You made a wiggle it?
Yeah, I may have to come out just to here. There it is. One behind it. See if I can get that one in first. I may have to get under there and pull this one around. Come back towards the back. There we go. You will be removing your exhaust first from the hanger. There is a slot underneath here that the hanger can drop through, but you do have to remove that from the hanger just to make sure that you got the space before you try to put the bumper up. Okay. All right, we're okay for right now. There it is. All right, we're gonna start with that. All right. Now, we've only put the 2 in the main center here. You can see the bumper's kind of hanging crooked right now. What we're gonna start doing is putting together the hitch as well as the top brackets here. This is where the 7/32 Allen key comes into play. So now that we've got the bumper pretty much held into place here, we're going to go ahead and remove these bolts. Again, they were just kind of there to help us keep it in place while we were working on with this. But we've got the side bolts all in place now, so they're going to be solid enough. The hitch is going to drop in from this side, so again, we can kind of start going through, adding in our bolts, and actually we're not going to do the top ones yet. But there are 2 back and underneath that you'll have to line up. And it can be a little bit of a pain with the bumper kind of dangling here to get everything to line up, but once you get it started, it'll all kind of pull itself into place. Maybe. Okay, that side's in. Again, we're not going tight, we're just kind of butting it right up to it just to get all the bolts started. Okay. This plate here is actually going to overlap your hitch. It's going to go on top, and we're going to have to level the bumper out when we get this in there. But we're going to go ahead and start with the 12mm bolts here. Again, we're leaving them loose so that we can still move the bumper back and forth where we need to. Okay, so everything right now is still very loose. And what we're going to do, this is where it helps either a floor jack or a buddy. And we're going to take this plate here, and this is going to slide up with the nuts down. And once we lift this all up into place, we're going to drop this bolt down and through the top side. You want to go with this side first? Mm-hmm. Yep. And pull that in a little bit. It's not lining up yet. Yeah, we might have to. Looks like we're getting close, but see if it's getting closer. Closer. So let me go in further. It's just fighting me. There it is. And what I'm doing there is I'm driving those bolts in just a little bit to line it all back up, because it's all going to kind of fight itself a little bit. But once those holes all line up, you can run this joiner plate back up underneath here, and that's going to kind of help keep everything level and connected. See how much junk I got in the back of mine? All right, again, we're just snugging. We're not really trying to tighten everything down just yet. So what we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna go through and figure out where we need to shim, where we need to keep everything level. We're gonna look at all of our lines, make sure everything's sitting pretty level. Normally we have these U-shaped shims that are going to come in your kit. They just look like this. And what we're going to do most of the time where we have to shim is underneath the bottom side of the hitch, because there is a dip in the frame where we're sitting here and the bumper's flat. So as we start putting this together, to get this level, we're going to shim through that bolt on the backside, and you can just slide these in until it's level. Once that's level and it's in the right spot, everything else will kind of pull into place. And what we're looking for is a straight edge from here to here. We just want to make sure that's level across there. If you need to level the wings, you can do that with the same shims. You're just doing that under the frame, between the frame and the bumper, to level up or down basically at that point. Again, if you're not using any shims, it's going to be at its utmost position. If you need to shim it down slightly, you can do that. Otherwise, what we're looking for is a pretty even distance between the body and the top of the bumper on both sides. That's the measurement that we're looking for there. Other than that, once this is all tightened down, bolted in, again, your swing arm at that point should be all assembled with the bearing and the hinge assembly. So your spindle, again, is going to drop in just down into the hole, into the slot here. There's a 3/8 inch bolt that's going to bolt up through the bottom. That's going to clamp everything into place and hold it in place. Your swing arm assembly on there. Once that comes and shuts, it should latch and line up right where it needs to be. If your latch is too high, it means that you don't have enough shims underneath. If it's too low, you have too many. So if you've got a variable in that height, you may have to adjust your shims underneath the hitch here to adjust that level back up. But if you're square and straight across there, you should be good to go. The final step, once everything's done, is again going to be that strike plate. We do send some rivets with it, so you will have to use a rivet gun to install this. But you're gonna drop this in, and there's already holes pre-drilled here, and it's gonna sit right around your bearing hinge assembly just like this. Drop your rivets in and lock that in place before you put your swing arm on, and lock it all down. And what that'll do is that'll give you, you can do it after the fact if you need to. If you forget to do this, there's still space to do it if you swing the swing arm open. But what that'll do is that gives you a lock open spot, as well as when it shuts, it's gonna lock shut. And it's an area for that the striker to run on without it wearing into your powder coat or causing any issues there. So that's the only last little thing that you got to do. Other than that, that's pretty much the install minus wiring or electrical. If you are running backup lights, it's easier to run those and put them into the bumper before you install, as well as running all your wiring up in there. So when you set that up into place, you're already done with your wiring. You don't have to try to feed it through between the frame and the bumper. Other than that, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call or send us an email, and we'd be happy to walk through the install with you. But that's pretty much the basic install of this bumper. And you know, thanks for purchasing, and hopefully it works out great for you. And if you have any other questions, please give us a call or reach out.